Today we are ranking Roblox Steal a Brainrot characters from absolute garbage to characters that actually deserve a small amount of respect, which is already a generous statement, considering we are talking about digital creatures whose entire purpose is standing around while people throw imaginary money at them. Steal a Brainrot has somehow created an economy where a suspicious Italian-looking creature with a stupid name is worth more than most people's entire inventory, and apparently we all agreed this was normal. So today we are going through these Brainrots one by one and deciding which ones deserve to sit at the top of the food chain and which ones deserve to be launched directly into the nearest digital volcano. Starting with the bottom of the list, we have Trippy Troppy. And this thing looks like someone tried to design a creature while their Wi-Fi was disconnecting every 3 seconds. There is something about Trippy Troppy that feels unfinished. The name sounds like a rejected children's television character, and the design looks like a fish got lost on the way to a costume party. I know people like this one, but I have looked into its eyes and found absolutely nothing staring back. There is no intelligence. There is no ambition. There is barely evidence of employment. Trippy Troppy goes straight into F tier. Moving up slightly, we have Bombardiro Crocodilo. Now this one at least has presence. You look at Bombardiro Crocodilo and immediately understand the assignment. There is a crocodile. There is a plane. Somehow those two concepts were placed into the same body, and nobody involved in the process stopped to ask why. The design is ridiculous, but ridiculous in a way where you almost have to respect the commitment. Unfortunately, the name sounds like someone falling down a staircase while trying to pronounce Italian, so I cannot put this thing too high. Bombardiro Crocodilo gets D tier. Next up is Brr Brr Patapim, which sounds less like a Brainrot character, and more like the noise your washing machine makes before giving up on life. This character has one of those designs where you stare at the screen for several seconds trying to understand what species you are looking at, only to realize there is no answer. Brr, brr, brr. Patapim exists outside conventional biology. This thing does not belong to land, sea, or air. This thing belongs exclusively to a Roblox server at 2 in the morning, while 12 people scream in the chat because somebody stole their money. I respect the energy, but the overall package still feels like D-tier material. Now we have Lirili Lirila, and this is where things start becoming slightly more interesting. Lirili Lirila has one of those names where you immediately know the creator was having a fantastic time. There is no explanation required. You hear the name once, and your brain accepts the fact that you have entered a different society. The design is also weird enough to work. Lirili Lirila looks like something you would encounter while walking through a desert after being awake for 40 hours. I do not know what the creature is supposed to represent, but I know I would not trust one to watch my house while I went to the supermarket. Still, there is personality here, so I am putting Lirili Lirila in C tier. Now we get to Tung 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 Sahur, and this is where the ranking starts becoming serious. Tung 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 Sahur is one of the few Brainrots where the name alone has enough power to carry the entire character. You do not even need the design. Somebody says Tung 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 Sahur, and your brain immediately produces an image of a wooden object charging toward you at unreasonable speed. There is something beautifully stupid about the concept. It has the energy of a character created as a joke and then accidentally becoming one of the most recognizable things in the entire game. The design is simple, the name is unforgettable, and the whole thing has a level of absurd confidence I respect. Tung 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 Sahur gets B tier. Now we have Cappuccino Assassino, and this is where I start questioning the amount of money people are willing to spend on fictional coffee-related criminals. Cappuccino Assassino sounds like an espresso machine that has developed a criminal record. The design also has an oddly serious attitude, which makes the whole thing funnier. You have a coffee-themed character walking around Roblox as though he has 3 international warrants and a personal vendetta against somebody named Greg. There is no reason for this character to look as committed as he does, and that is precisely why I like him. Cappuccino Assassino gets B tier, sitting comfortably above the characters that look like they were assembled during a power outage. Then we have Tralalero Tralala, which is one of the most recognizable names in the entire Brainrot universe. This character has the exact energy of somebody walking into a room, saying something completely meaningless, and somehow becoming the most popular person there. Tralalero Tralala does not need a complicated backstory. The name is the backstory. The design is ridiculous, the phrase is catchy, and the entire character feels engineered to occupy your brain against your will. You hear Tralalero Tralala once, and suddenly you are thinking about Tralalero Tralala while brushing your teeth. This is psychological warfare disguised as Roblox content. Tralalero Tralala gets A tier. Moving on, we have Frigo Camelo, which looks like somebody combined a refrigerator with a camel after losing a bet. I do not know what conversation happened before this character was created, but I desperately wish I had been there. There is something about a camel refrigerator walking around a Roblox map that perfectly captures the entire philosophy of Steal a Brainrot. Nobody asked for this. Nobody needed this. Yet here we are, emotionally invested in a refrigerator camel because somebody decided the world needed one. Frigo Camelo gets A tier because the concept is so stupid that it loops back around into being good. This is the type of character where you cannot explain why you like it without sounding like you have suffered a minor head injury. Now we have Ballerina Cappuccina, And this is one of those characters where the design is so specific that you almost respect the level of commitment involved. Ballerina Cappuccina looks like a coffee cup entered ballet school and graduated with honors. The entire character is absurdly elegant for something existing in a game where people spend hours stealing fictional creatures from each other. There is also something inherently funny about a ballerina coffee character standing peacefully while absolute chaos happens around her. People are getting robbed, bases are getting raided, someone is probably screaming into a microphone. Meanwhile, Ballerina Cappuccina is standing there like she has somewhere important to be at 7. She gets A tier. Now we reach one of the biggest names, Tung Sahur's more intimidating relatives, and honestly, this is where the Brainrot hierarchy starts feeling like organized crime. Characters such as Bombambini Gusini have enough visual absurdity to make them memorable without needing much explanation. Bombambini Gusini is essentially the kind of creature you would design after being told to draw a goose while somebody repeatedly yelled random Italian words into your ear. Yet somehow, the final result works. There is a strange balance between recognizable and completely nonsensical. Bombambini Gusini gets A tier. Now, before we get to the top spots, we need to talk about one of the most important factors in this ranking, and that is aura. I do not care how rare a character is. I do not care how much money somebody has spent on one. If I look at a Brainrot and feel nothing, that character is getting sent down the list. A good Brainrot needs presence. It needs a name you remember. It needs a design where you immediately know something has gone horribly wrong. It needs to look like the developers stopped asking whether something made sense several updates ago. That is what separates the elite Brainrots from the digital background furniture. And speaking of elite Brainrots, we have La Vaca Saturno Saturnita. This is one of those characters where the name sounds like an ancient prophecy delivered by a cow. La Vaca Saturno Saturnita sounds like something an astronomer would say after discovering a new planet and then immediately losing their job. The design takes a cow and adds enough cosmic nonsense to make you wonder why cows were ever allowed to remain normal in the first place. There is no practical reason for this creature to exist, and somehow that makes the character stronger. La Vaca Saturno Saturnita gets S tier. Now we have secret lucky blocks. And yes, I know we are supposed to be ranking characters, but Steal a Brainrot has reached a point where even objects have enough personality to deserve consideration. A lucky block sitting around while everyone fights over the contents is basically the perfect representation of the entire game. People see a mysterious box and immediately lose all rational thought. They start calculating probabilities. They start making deals. They start convincing themselves the next one will be different. Then they open the block and receive something worth approximately 3 cents. This is gambling with extra polygons. Still, as a concept, it is iconic, so I am giving Lucky Blocks S tier. Now we arrive at the top 3. In third place, we have Tralalero Tralala. Yes, I already ranked Tralalero Tralala highly, but the character deserves another mention because the cultural impact of this thing is ridiculous. The name alone has become a piece of internet vocabulary. There are characters with better designs. There are characters with better rarity. There are characters with more complicated concepts. None of that matters when you have a name powerful enough to survive being repeated 12,000 times in a YouTube Shorts comment section. Tralalero Tralala takes third place. Second place goes to Ballerina Cappuccina. The reason is simple. Ballerina Cappuccina has an identity. You see the character and immediately know what you are looking at. Coffee, ballet, questionable life decisions. The design has enough personality to stand out among hundreds of Brainrots, and the name is impossible to forget once you have heard it. She gets second place. And finally, first place goes to Tung Sahur. This should not surprise anybody. Tung Sahur is basically the final boss of Brainrot recognition. The character is simple enough for a 5-year-old to remember, strange enough for an adult to question their life choices, and recognizable enough to survive almost any ranking. The name is absurd. The design is absurd. The entire concept is absurd. Yet somehow, when you put all of those things together, you get one of the strongest characters in Steal a Brainrot. Tung Sahur feels like the mascot of an internet culture that collectively decided normal character design was no longer worth the effort. And honestly, I respect the decision. So there you have it. From Trippy Troppy sitting at the bottom looking like a creature that wandered into the wrong game, all the way up to Tung Sahur sitting proudly at number 1. This is my ranking of the Steal a Brainrot characters. Some of these characters are genuinely memorable. Some look like they were created during a fever dream. Some sound like rejected pasta dishes. Some look like household appliances that developed consciousness. But somehow, every single one of them contributes to the completely ridiculous ecosystem Roblox has created. 10 years ago, nobody would have predicted people would spend their evenings fighting over fictional creatures with names like Cappuccino Assassino and Tralalero Tralala. Yet here we are. Humanity has reached peak civilization, and apparently the final achievement is stealing a digital camel refrigerator from somebody's Roblox base. I do not know what the future holds for Steal a Brainrot, but I fully expect the next update to introduce a sentient microwave named Giuseppe, who generates $12 million per second. At this point, I would not even question it. I would simply walk into the server, look at Giuseppe, and accept my fate.